All right, Chad Brendel, Tim Adams, back here at the Shakely Athletic Center, the practice facility after Wednesday's practice. And Tim, obviously a disappointing week last week, but got to get their heads back up, get back in the game, and take care of Northwestern State on Saturday.
Yes, I think that this game is more about Cincinnati than it is about Northwestern State. After last week, disappointing loss, as you mentioned, I never saw that coming. I think a lot of times there's one or two plays that can change a game. We saw that with the Muncie touchdown that was reversed. I haven't seen the replay other than at the stadium. Everyone seems to think it was a bad call. But the bottom line is, even if you have to sometimes overcome those kinds of things, and the Bearcats weren't able to do that last week. But this team is the perfect remedy, I think. This is usually the team you play the first week or the second week. But
two Big Ten teams and then the Cup game.
Yeah. So you got to take people where they fall in your lineup. And this is the week they play Northwestern State. I don't think they're really a top 25 FCS team. I think Cincinnati ought to be able to put these guys away fairly easily, fairly early. But, in today's college football, you better come out ready to play.
Yeah, and those FCS teams are coming into games like this. It's their Super Bowl. So what you need to do, at least from my perspective, is not let what happened at Illinois, where Illinois got out fast. You want to be the aggressor, and I think, in a situation where they've got a lot of depth, although some injuries have impacted that a little bit, but they've got a lot of depth. You want to wear teams down. You don't get to wear a team down if they jump up on you by 2 scores, 3 scores. Then you're on your heels, and that advantage becomes a kind of moot point.
Yeah, the Bearcats were down 21-0 in the first half, and really closed it right before they got their 7 points. And everybody wants to be up by 21. It's so much more. Since I had to really kind of start throwing the ball, their guys can tee off and come after your quarterback. We saw some of that happen with one of the sacks. I know the guys are just pinning their ears back and coming. And one play, Muncie was a little deep in that pocket. Usually the offensive linemen are taught to run their guy around the hoop so that the quarterback can step up in the pocket. But Muncie was too deep on that play. It was about 11 yards deep. And really, the offensive tackle had no clue. He was taking his man right to the quarterback. So, sometimes the sacks and some of those things, you look at it and go, well, such and such made a mistake, but there's a lot of intricacies in there that get involved. But the Bearcats need to play a lot better this week.
You mentioned this isn't as much about Northwestern State as we do the preview. That this is about Cincinnati. What are you looking for from this team as a bounce back to all of the adversity, not just the loss, but losing Muncie and maybe a couple of other injuries that cropped up during that game? What are you looking for in this team Saturday?
Every game is about winning the line of scrimmage, and I didn't think Cincinnati did that well enough last Saturday. They need to do that well this week. They've got a good enough defensive line, although the offensive line is now somewhat banged up with a couple guys out. You lose Dan Sprague, you lose Dominello, and they're both centers.
Yeah.
And so now, this week you're going to have to make some adjustments with backup guys, because the other guy was walk-on David Niehaus from Coleraine, a walk-on freshman. So they've made some adjustments there. We're not really permitted to talk about any adjustments that they've made, but they're going to have to make some adjustments. And those guys need to go out, and there's enough talent there that they should be able to control the line of scrimmage. If you control the line of scrimmage in almost every game, if you just have decent skill guys, you're going to win. And Cincinnati ought to be able to control the line of scrimmage.
Coach Tuberville talked about yesterday at the press luncheon, Benny Coney moving into that number 2 spot and getting some reps. You've long been on the Benny Coney bandwagon, and you've seen as much practice as anybody. What kind of guy is he at the quarterback position? What do you look for in him, and what can you expect from him?
Well, he is a guy that's a lot like Nathan Schillhouse that we saw last week. He's a guy that he wants to throw first, but he's got enough mobility that he can buy some time if he has to. I thought he had a terrific spring. I've never seen him play any better than he did in the spring. I didn't think his training camp was nearly as good as he played back in the spring. But now he's going to get out there. A lot of times guys, once they can smell the playing time, their play starts to step up a little bit. And throughout training camp, Benny was pretty much solidified with that 3rd slot. So you want to get him out there and get him some reps, because you never know what's going to happen. But he's a guy that's a throw first, run second guy. He's got nice touch on the ball. And if he makes the right reads, I think that he'll have a good day, assuming he can get in there.
And Kay back at quarterback, obviously, with Muncie out.
Yeah, and we've talked about the injuries with Brennan. The great thing that Brennan does, he just takes care of the football. He doesn't fumble it. He hasn't thrown interceptions. I don't think he's thrown the ball as sharply since when they rested his arm at about the 2nd week of training camp. So we'll have to see how he does. And we talked about it with Coach today about the back thing and the shoulder thing and all are apparently connected, but he feels like he's 100%. But he just doesn't seem to have the zip on the ball. We were talking about that in practice today. And hopefully, once the game and the adrenaline kicks in, we'll see all those things come back.
And he'll find Chris more deep at some point in time because that just seems to be the way things go.
Yeah, that's another thing. Where last week it seemed like we never got anybody behind their secondary. I don't even know if we threw a ball really more than 20 yards.
I think 15, 20 yards was just about max. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was really hoping the Bearcats would have somebody to go deep and beat somebody. And Moore's kind of the guy that you look to right now. Now, I think McKay can be a guy like that, too, because he's just so long. And even if he's guarded, he can go up and get the ball.
Yeah.
So I hope we see some big plays because I think, the Bearcats need to do that. It's hard to sustain drives for 15 plays. And you can make a big play, boom, touchdown, you're up, and momentum, the crowd's into it. It really helps.
Well, it's supposed to be nice weather. It's supposed to be comfortable at Nippert Stadium on Saturday night. Make sure your bed is the right softness.
You can't have a bad back. I don't want to have
no
a bad
bad backs, no bad shoulders, no carpal tunnel coming into to Tim's Tidbits on Sunday morning.
But before we end up, I wanted to be sure I mention this. That Northwestern State had 2 NFL players, and if you are in your mid 50s or older, you will know this player. I think
You're under your mid 50s, though, right?
Well, almost 61. But Charlie Toller. Do you remember Charlie Toller?
No.
You're probably too young.
I'm too young.
Charlie Toller played for the Houston Oilers in the Old American Football League before they joined the National Football League, and he was a 5'6", 210-pound running back. And he was, I think, the MVP of the league once or twice. His nickname was the Human Bowling Ball. I remember watching those games as a kid, and he was this little guy, and he looked like a bowling ball. But him and Gary Reasons, I'm sure you remember Gary Reasons.
I remember that name.
He played for the Giants, a linebacker, and came here to Cincinnati when Dave Shula was the head coach.
Ooh.
And Shula disciplined him for something, and he walked off and he rubbed his head like that, like a little kid, like you'd rub a little kid's hair, just in defiance of Shula. Boy, you look good there. Just in defiance of Shula's, being the head coach. And then I think he got fined or something. But David Shula didn't have any respect.
What happened to Dave Shula? He got fired.
Yeah, he hurried his career. he hurried his career.
But that's going to wrap it up for Tim and I here from the Shakely Athletic Complex. You're expecting a big win on Saturday.
I expected a big win last Saturday, so don't listen to me.
All right.
But I think not only last Saturday, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 2 big wins in the next 2 weeks.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
The Red Hawks are not very good. We'll talk about that next week. Thanks for tuning in. For BearcatJournal.com, Chad Brendel and Tim Adams.